Welcome to VML on Creativity. It's a special series from Breaking and Entering Media. In this series, we're sitting down with some of the sharpest minds across VML to explore one big question. What does creativity look like today? Because at VML, creativity doesn't just live in scripts, headlines, or beautiful film. It shows up in commerce ideas, platform thinking, real time culture, long term brand building, and so much more, and everything in between. In each episode, we'll talk with a different leader across disciplines to understand how they define creativity, how it shows up in their work, and how they're helping the biggest brands in the world make meaningful things that last. You'll hear about the campaigns that push the boundaries, ideas born from data or emotion, and what it really takes to keep great ideas alive inside a massive agency. In this episode, we sit down with Allison Pierce, Chief Creative Officer of VML Kansas City, to explore creativity that goes far beyond traditional ads and into brand activations that create real change. From rethinking website accessibility with sound bites to mental health advocacy in group therapy and cultural jabs like Wendy's, Frosty Fix, Allison unpacks how her team invents unexpected ideas that solve real business problems. This one's packed with smart strategy, bold creativity, and grounded advice on how to make work that matters and lasts, all in the entertainment sphere here. Let's get into it. This is the Breaking and Entering Advertising podcast, and as usual, I'm your accomplice, Gino Schellenberger. Kick it, Mikey. All right. Allie Pierce, welcome to the Breaking and Entering Advertising podcast. How are you doing today?
Thank you. I'm great. I'm so happy to be here.
Tell the world where you're calling in from, please.
I am literally staring at the runway at the downtown airport of Kansas City, Missouri. So
Nice.
Right here, ready for Taylor to hopefully come in and land and head back to KC. She
Oh,
always
right. Any run-ins with T Swift?
Her plane hangs out outside my office here and there. So for a while, they started like hiding it at one of the hangars that's like across the way. But there's been a few times where it's been right up here, which is kind of nice.
Oh my gosh. Yes, please. If you get any footage of that, send it our way. Our co-founder, my good friend and Break Entering is a huge Swiftie. So he'll probably want to come. Actually, hearing this, he'll probably want to come down to the office and do a little break-in with you all just so he can scout it out. That's so fun.
Yeah, when they first started dating, she was like, it was so much more low key. So she was a lot more kind of in and out, not as secretive as it's gotten after it blew up. But she's still in here a lot. So.
Oh yeah. Wait, that's incredible. So this probably feels good for her though. There's no secret, right? It's like she could do whatever she feels. That's
Yes.
good. And I guess what we're trying to do with this series is get the word out about the creativity at VML. There's no secret that you guys are a powerhouse agency here. So we're going to be exploring like multiple episodes, talking about different forms of creativity, Allie. And you are up right now. I'm so pumped to talk to you because you are the CCO for VML Kansas City. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
So for this show, I want to learn a little bit more about you, about the agency in Kansas City. And then there's 3 pieces of work that we can kind of focus on. We'll get some context about and, understand them. I've got some questions, and then we'll finish it off with advice for the next generation because I can't help myself. I love helping out the next generation, Allie.
Okay.
Cool.
I'm into it. Love it.
Cool. Before all of that, what do you like to do outside of work?
I have 2 boys and they're big into sports. So I love going and watching their baseball games, basketball, football, all of that. And then I am a really avid tennis player. Now I was I rode horses my whole life, and I had a horse and I started playing tennis like 2 years ago, and I have now retired my horse and I'm like full-time tennis. So like to be outside doing stuff.
Full-time tennis. Love it. And who you inspired by in the tennis world?
Oddly enough, I love to play tennis. I don't really watch tennis very much.
That's okay.
So I couldn't even really tell you. I mean, there's obviously the greats, but I really just I love the game. It's super addicting, and I love the competitiveness of it. So
That's every good CCO should have a little bit of that competitiveness too. So
yeah, I agree.
okay. So a larger question here about VML. So VML creativity clearly takes many shapes. Like, how would you personally define what creativity means at your location or at VML? How do you see it showing up in your day-to-day work?
Yeah, I think that's a great question because I do think it takes on a lot of different forms, and people might define it differently based on what they love to do. It's a subjective part of our business. But for me, creativity is all about solving a problem in an unexpected way. I always push my teams to go beyond an ad, go beyond a placement. And like a good example, which we're not talking about today, but I think it's a good example of like Tennessee, for example, wanted to attract families. And we could have just made ads that spoke to families, or we could have placed ads on sites that, families may go to. But what I push them to do is like dig down into like the root of that issue and then solve that problem creatively. So in this example, we found out, well, parents need like a guarantee that their kids are going to have a great time on a vacation, right? It's a big bet for them. And they knew what a beach vacation would be like. They knew what Disney was, but they had like no clue what to do in Tennessee, like what if their kids were going to like it. And so it was too big of a gamble for them. So we like ended up inventing essentially a review metric that we knew parents would look at and say, that means my kid's having fun, which was laughter. And so we invented a device that could measure laughter. We called it the Laugh Tracker. And we gathered data from like hundreds of kids doing all the stuff in Tennessee. And then we gave parents that information. And so that became this big idea that we created that didn't feel like advertising, right? We invented a product, informed our advertising. So it, to me, those are the things I'm always pushing for. It's like, don't just make me an ad with some words and some visuals. Give me a big idea that helps really solve the problem that we have. And then, of course, we can put that in front of parents wherever they're at and use that to communicate. So I think it's just a great example of the type of creativity we do here and the stuff I personally just love.
Yeah, it almost like good like creativity in this sense when you're solving problems for businesses can almost like transform the business entirely. They might rethink their structure and what they're selling and how they're going about their service and they're providing it. It really can shift who you're working with.
Yeah, it's what makes me the most excited. Like, I just love I mean, maybe if I like was a little more crafty or something, I would have been an inventor. But I just love solving problems that with things that really can make a difference.
Yeah, yeah. So I guess my next question is, you VML did something called group therapy, right? You
Mm-hmm.
combined brand and content, comedy and social good all in one. This is another example of like not just sticking to basic like out of home ads, right? How did you ensure that entertainment value didn't overshadow the message and the mission? That's the baseline question here. But let's define group therapy. Who was the client? Which office did this? Let's just start with what is group therapy?
Yeah. So the client was AXA, which is an insurance company, and I believe it was out of VML Paris. And the idea behind this film was like AXA has a long history of like caring about, they don't even call it mental health. They call it mind health because they feel like saying mental is sort of a stigma. It's got a
Yeah.
stigma associated with it. So they call it mind health. And they do like a mind health report every year. This is something they're really passionate about. Could they have ran an ad that said, we care about your mind health? Of course. But what they decided to do instead was they got comedians who, those are the people that make us laugh every day. But one thing a lot of people don't realize is a lot of comedians suffer from depression, anxiety, a lot of the things that we all deal with. And so we got them, the people who are used to getting on stage and making us all laugh, to talk about the things that they struggle with and sort of why the laughter, why they use laughter as sort of a band-aid. But we put that in the form of a documentary that is so entertaining, so surprising, um, and just really great at ripping down some of that stigma that exists around talking about those things. And I think that was just a much more impactful way for AXA to say, we really care about our customers' mind health.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So this was a documentary. You put six-star comedians in front of a live audience. They're talking about their troubles. They're opening it up. It was guided by Neil Patrick Harris.
Yes.
And for them to be vulnerable, the different side that they usually show on stage is so powerful. And that is a form of creativity. Like that is not like a traditional ad that they might teach in undergraduate education or in a portfolio school. It's a really unique execution. I think that's a phenomenal example of creativity. And like, how do you ensure then like the entertainment value of like these stars, like they don't like joke around too much or they don't overshadow the message and the mission? Because if I was in charge of this, I would just have like Neil Patrick Harris maybe like dancing around, like making like taking
Yeah.
away from like the true point here. How do you
Well,
kind of balance? How do they balance that out?
speaking of dancing, I mean, it is a dance. It's a
Mhm.
lot of it is like it has to be the right idea for the right brand. And if those two things are true, it makes it easy for the brand to coexist in an authentic way with the content, right? So I think, like I was saying before, like Axia being, committed to supporting mind health and wanting their customers to be healthy mind and body, it's really easy for the brand to have a role without having to be like literally in your face. And they partnered with the right partners and said, look, like we just care that this is out there. We don't necessarily need to like come on and say, please use our insurance. We care that this is out there. And it, I think, resonates with people as like, I am entertained. Uh, the point I think is agreed upon by everyone of what we want to do with this film. And then from there, you kind of let everyone take it and make it as great as possible.
Yeah. Any reactions like from the communities, from the client that
I think
like
everyone loves it. I mean, it is so wildly entertaining, but also I think I said it earlier, but it's like it's surprising because you don't. It's so easy for us to look at someone who makes people laugh and think they must be really happy. And I think being able to see a different side of a lot of these people that I mean, Neil Patrick Harris, like um, that show. I'm forgetting the name of the show, but it was like my favorite
how,
show. Oh,
how
How
I
I
Met Your
Met Your Mother.
Mother?
Yeah, I just
Yeah.
literally watched that again, the
It's,
whole
it's the best.
every season with my 12-year-old son because he loves it. But it's like you see people like that and you assume that they're not dealing with the same things that you are, and so to get to see them in a different light and sort of feel like you can relate to them, but still laugh because there's still a lot
Mm.
of laughs in it, I think is great.
I love that. I love that. So that's one form of creativity in this realm. But then there's another one with trying to get people to like visit Tennessee and this campaign that's called Sound Sites, right?
Mhm.
So can you give us like the background on Sound Sites because this is just incredible work as well. Really smart, really different form, not your traditional print, digital, social ad that people would think of. So give me the rundown here.
Okay, yes. Sound sites, essentially, when someone is building a website, there is a code called alt text. Basically, what the alt text does is tell anyone that's using a screen reader what any image that's on the page, what it's of. But what happens is a lot of times when people are building websites or putting images in, they don't really pay a lot of attention to it. I think like 60% of all websites don't even like have alt text. So they don't have anything. And then a lot of them that do have it, it's very basic. It'll be like beach scene. And Tennessee has been committed to being more accessible. Like we did a program about 10 years ago called the Colorblind Viewer, which was we invented this viewer that allowed colorblind people to see the fall colors, and we installed them in all of our state parks. And that has since, we have given that to other states and other countries as well. They hired a accessible parks coordinator. They bought wheelchairs that can go off road. So this is something that's very important to them. So what we went in and did is, Tennessee's well known for being sort of the songwriter capital of the world. And we talked about how a songwriter can paint pictures in your mind with just words. Like you listen to a song and it feels like you're there and you're not looking at anything. And so who better, especially from Tennessee where we have so many of them, to help us write alt text that for our site that really helped someone with vision loss get a feeling for what it would be like to be here. And so I think what's really interesting about that is, even when we started that project, we had the songwriters and they were starting to write. We asked them to write lyrics based on every image that we had on the site, and then we were going to use those as our alt text. And when they first started, they were describing the images. And we had a woman who said, "You can tell me that there's a cloud in the sky, but I don't know what a cloud looks like." And so it was this really profound moment where we were like, you're right. We have to use all the other senses, because just because I'm describing to you what something looks like, when you get to Tennessee, you're still not going to see it. So we focused on, what does it feel like to be there? What does it smell like to be there? What's the temperature? What does it sound like? So we focused on we had the songwriters focus on all these other senses, so that when you come to the Tennessee website and you're using a screen reader and you're not necessarily able to see the pictures, you're getting a feeling for what being in Tennessee would be like.
Wow. No, it gives me chills. Like when I first saw it, chills. When you're talking about it, chills. It's so like powerful. Like when most people think of creativity, they're thinking about like beautiful visuals or a really well written tagline. But this like is it transcends that. I guess like how does creativity evolve when the audience experience is about emotion and inclusion rather than visual storytelling? Like what are those things that you have to keep in mind?
I mean, it is funny. My favorite thing about our job and what we do is that the variables are always different, right? It's like an episode of Chopped. You like open the basket and you have what you have and you have to make something of it. And that's
Yeah.
what fuels me. And I think this is just another example of like, you may not have every tool in your tool belt to use. And so you just have to get creative and find another way to solve the problem.
Yeah.
And that's what I think that we've done here. And the reality of it is we did make a film so that we could show everyone about it. So you could spread the message. So you, in various elements, you are still using visual storytelling, but the creative solve for the problem that we had didn't. If that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's going to be other like ways to get the word out in different mediums, so that's so important too. You want to make sure you're getting the attention needed. So I feel like that campaign did such a great job. Um, there is a one that's near and dear to my heart that I have to talk about uh, because I am from Chicago. I worked in the River North area, and I saw the Wendy's Frosty fix. It's like a playful real time brand activation. Tell us about that for the people that have not seen this.
Okay, so I think you kind of have to live under a rock not to know that McDonald's sort of notoriously has trouble with their ice cream machines being down. And there's like a whole slew of reasons for that. But it's kind of something that's been a continued conversation for over a decade. And Wendy's decided that it was the perfect moment to really kind of go at McDonald's hard and say, you know what, we're just going to show up at every location. We started in Chicago, every location that had a broken ice cream machine, and we're going to give people Frosties instead. So that's exactly what we did. We outfitted a bunch of trucks. We called it Frosty Fix, and we partnered with a site that already existed. It was called McBroken.com, and the guy that started the site literally just tracks the broken ice cream machines. He
It's so funny.
has a passion for that.
Oh my
We
gosh.
had kind of been working with him for a couple years, but more in just like a media buying sense. But this time we were like, this is the moment right now that we're going to take it to the next level. And so, we the way it works is like he'll ping the McDonald's app like every 5 minutes. And if you can't order ice cream, he marks it as broken. And so we just literally showed up and went through the drive-thru. They said it was broken, and then we opened shop.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, you see the large truck, the Wendy's Frosty Fix truck show up. The case study is so funny. Like somebody was quoted saying the worker in the McDonald's was really mad, pissed off that Wendy's showed up. That was great. I guess the question is like, how do you approach brand entertainment when when speed and cultural relevance are just as important as the idea itself? I'll say that one more time because I didn't say it very well. How do you approach branded entertainment when speed and cultural relevance are just as important as the idea itself?
I do think there are ideas that live and die by how fast you can react. That is just true. I mean, a lot of social stuff is like, if you are even a day late, you're done. It's just, don't even do it. I do think there's others where the runway is a little bit longer. I mean, in this case, like it was, like I said, McBroken had been around for a while. The conversation had existed for a while on McDonald's broken ice cream machine. We just felt like, okay, we're hitting like sort of this peak moment where McDonald's had just rebranded McFlurries. And then we were going into a time where like Frosty sales typically soften because it was going into like late fall. So it was just like perfect moment for us to do it. But all those variables had existed. So it really kind of depends. Like sometimes it's okay if certain things have lived and been around for a minute, and just sometimes it doesn't. Like, so it definitely, you get ideas on both sides of the spectrum. But the reality is when it's something that like, if you don't react now, it dies. You just got to move on to the next one, because you've got to be in a position. And we have, with our Wendy's clients in particular, we've built a lot of trust. We have a really good system in place to kind of move on things quickly.
Yeah.
If you don't have that, it's really hard for you to participate in culture in general. So you have to build that, and you have to build that trust.
Absolutely. Yeah, because then when you do text them at 10 p.m. at night saying you have a quick idea that you want to get working on for tomorrow, they can easily just say, "Yeah, we trust you." Like
I saw a TikTok the other day, and somebody was talking about their superpower was being fast. And it really resonated with me because I do think that's a superpower. And I think that's how people win sometimes. It's like, it may not be the best, or it may not, whatever. It's if you're the fastest, if you're the first, you can win. So I like sometimes for the team to have that mentality of like, let's be the fastest.
Yeah, it's like those proactive ideas. Like always think like really good creatives are not just waiting for the next brief. They're thinking about the brand consistently, and they're looking, and they're like, when they're scrolling on their personal Instagram and their social accounts, if they see something that was remotely adjacent to their clients, they'll try to connect the dots, and they'll move quick and text in the group chat and try to push it through. Like those are the best, those proactive ideas there.
I totally agree. I'm like famously unpopular with strategists because I always say, don't wait for a brief. You don't need a brief. And I, like literally, I feel like they're probably yelling at me for overhearing that. But all the best work I've ever seen done, ever, did not come from a brief. So.
Interesting. Yeah, because it's like there's that stress, those parameters on some of that brief work, but they're super important and keep everything rolling on time.
Yep.
But it's like it's the shower ideas, like when you're not thinking about it and it hits you, the lightning strikes, that aha moment. Those proactive ideas are amazing. So
Yep.
I'm curious, you've worked across formats from documentaries to digital activations. Like, how do you and your teams think about pushing branded entertainment beyond traditional advertising while still serving the brand?
I think, like, again, you have to love the brands that you're working on, and you have to be so emotionally invested in them succeeding, because then you're not clouded by creative ideas for creative sake. Like, the brand should always be at the core of any idea that you're thinking of, and solving the brand's problems. Like, if you're looking at creativity without that lens, you're going to make work that doesn't work. And that's just true. So I think it's like, look for those intersections between what's cool, what's interesting, what's happening in the world, and the brand's problems and opportunities, and how where people are interested. And that's where you're going to find the sweet spot of the best work. Like, you can't go into it and say, I'm trying to sell you something. You have to have an entertainment first mindset, but you can't forget that your job is to sell stuff. So if you find the right idea in the right moment, you can strike that perfect balance, which should always be the goal.
I love it. And how did you break into this business? Because you know so much, you've done such amazing work, you're at a great spot. What was the moment when you decided you wanted to make ads for a living, and then how did you go about doing it?
It's so funny you're asking me this. So whenever I interview someone or I'm talking to someone I don't know, I always ask them what their advertising story is, because mine is so boring and theirs are always so amazing. I just talked to a guy the other day who's like, I was a classical pianist. And I was like,
Oh
oh
my
my
goodness.
God, like, that's such a cool story. Mine's pretty boring. I was sitting in a class in college, and the professor had put up a slide, and it's like, here's the difference between marketing and advertising. Marketing's about numbers, advertising's about ideas. And I was like, well, I'm in the wrong spot. So I literally got up and I changed my major and like went into advertising. But before that moment, I never paid attention to ads, to be honest. I had never really thought about it. I just knew like if I had to do a book report, I was like, man, I don't want to write a book report. That's so boring. So I made a board game as my book report. Like, I just was always looking for creative ways to solve problems. And I loved like making stuff, and I loved having an answer. And I love when people tell you no, or like there's a reason why something can't happen, because then you have the opportunity to pivot and come up with another idea. And so I think that's just sort of a natural thing that I love to do, and it kind of pushed me in this direction. But I don't really have anything exciting after that. I just kind of like
No,
into the industry.
I love it. I love it. And then, so you learned a lot along the way since that break in and since that realization. Um, so, my question is for those coming up in the industry or looking to push their own creativity further, anybody, what's your best piece of advice on how to create work that stands out and makes a real impact?
So we interviewed a songwriter once, and kind of asked them a similar question, and they said, I'm chasing the chills. And I think the best work in our industry is the stuff that can give you that same feeling. And so, I tell everybody, I'm like, you need to chase the chills. So you have to find twists, you have to be unexpected. You can't settle for something that's boring. If it's boring, ask more questions. I would also say, and this kind of like hits on the other side, but I would say make data your friend. Data can sell your idea now, and it can sell your next big idea. So if you have rooted everything in information, it'll sell. Doesn't matter how crazy, how wild it is. If you can prove a business case to a client, you can sell that idea. And then if you make sure and measure the effectiveness of that work, you'll sell your next idea. So a lot
Hmm.
of creatives are afraid of data. I love data. Data is my like superpower in terms of like being able to sell work, because it's just hard to say no to when the numbers are there, or the insights are there. So I would say lean in, don't lean out on that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. No, it scares me, but that anybody listening that might also be scared hearing that it can actually champion your ideas and get that higher percentage rate of ideas going through and sold to the client. That is phenomenal advice and really good to hear.
Yeah, what you'll find out is you just have to sell the first idea, and then you need to make sure that it works. And then it's easier to sell your next one and your next one and your next one. And that's why we have clients like Wendy's and Tennessee who consistently do amazing work every single year, because we've been able to say, well, this is the business case why you should do it, so it's easy to buy. And then we prove that it works. And then the next thing is easier to sell. So if you want to do consistent, amazing work, that's how you do it.
Amazing. Well, Allie, this has been a pleasure. You did a great job. How can people reach out to you if they have questions? They want to work with you, they want to work for you. Where should they go?
I would say, I don't, probably LinkedIn.
That's a good
would be
one.
the best way. I don't know if people. I am not. I don't like. I have kids, so I don't really put my social stuff out there very much, which maybe makes me sound old. But yeah, LinkedIn's probably the
LinkedIn
best.
is perfect. Most of our guests say that.
Okay.
So we'll have them shoot you a note on LinkedIn. But otherwise, anything else that we didn't get to go over, Allie?
Not that I can think of. I mean, the only other thing I would say, because it's a hot topic right now, is on AI. I think, which I know you didn't ask me about, so I'm just going to tell you anyway. I do think you can't ignore AI. It's going to be a part of what we do moving forward. So what I tell my teams, because a lot of my teams don't really necessarily want to lean in, and I totally get it, but there's a way that it can help you. It's not going to replace you, but it can help you. So learn how to use AI so it can help you.
Golden. Well, Allie, thank you so much. We appreciate it. I hope you have a great rest of your day and wish you all the best and success. And you see Taylor a bunch.
Thank you.
It's awesome stuff. Great job again.
Thank you.